Here's a question that's going to make you uncomfortable. What if I told you that every no you've ever heard wasn't really about your product, your price, or your timing? What if every rejection you ever faced was actually created by you?
That sounds insane.
Does it? Here's what happened to me last week. I'm sitting across from a prospect, perfect fit, obvious need, ready to buy. 10 minutes in, I see his body language start to shift. 20 minutes in, he's checking his phone. 30 minutes in, I need to think about it, he says.
A classic brush off.
Yeah, that's what I thought until I replayed the meeting in my head and every single objection he gave me, I'd planted the seed for it in the first 5 minutes.
How'd you do that?
That's exactly what we're diving into today. And that's and by the end of the episode, you're going to recognize the objections you've been unconsciously creating your entire career.
Can't wait.
So welcome to Plan Life Right, the show that doesn't just give you financial strategies, we give you the psychology behind why they work. I'm Kevin Ross.
And I'm Matt Floyd. And today we're talking about something that's costing you millions of dollars in lost business, your relationship with the word no.
Matt, how many times have you heard an advisor say or a salesperson say people just don't want to buy anymore, or the market's too competitive, or clients are just more price sensitive than ever? They're do it yourself type people.
Yeah, every single day it's like the old official excuse handbook.
Yeah. So here's the hard truth. If you're hearing consistent objections, you're not the victim of difficult prospects. You're the creator of your own resistance.
That's a bold statement.
It's scientifically backed statement, I'm telling you. And we're going to prove it to you in the next 30 minutes. So let's start with the neuroscience. Matt, what happens in the brain when someone feels uncertain?
They get that fight or flight response that kicks in.
Exactly. That that amygdala fires, the stress hormones flood the system, the brain makes one decision, protect yourself. And the easiest way to protect yourself from a perceived threat is just to say no.
And so every sales conversation is potentially triggering a survival response.
Well, not potentially, it is triggering a survival response. Think about it. You're asking someone to give you money if you're in the financial business. You're asking them to change their current situation, to trust you with their financial future. These are massive decisions.
Right.
So now here's where it gets interesting. Dr. Robert Cialindi's research shows that humans make decisions in the first 90 seconds. Then they spend the rest of the conversation just justifying that decision. So if their brain goes into protection mode early, every word you say after that is just giving them ammunition for their no.
So the objection is decided before it's ever even spoken.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. It's mirror neurons. These are brain cells that literally mirror what they observe in others. If you're nervous, they feel nervous. If you're uncertain, they feel uncertain. If you expect resistance, they feel resistance.
So we're unconsciously programming their response.
Yeah, 100%. So I've learned this the hard way over the years selling. But the story I want to share. Years ago, I had a client meeting where I knew this guy was going to object to the cost. So I walked in already defending the price in my head. So guess what happened?
He objected to the price.
Within 12 minutes. And it wasn't because the price was too high. It's because I telegraphed that I thought it was too high.
Yeah, that's wild.
It gets even wilder. UCLA research shows that 55% of communication is body language, 38% is tone of voice, and only 7% is actual words. So when you say this is a great investment, but your posture says, please don't reject me, Which message do you think they receive? And look, if you're in phone sales, the tone of your voice is everything because that's what you've got.
Yeah, that's the 93% that's not the
That's
words.
right. It's why advisors or salespeople who are technically brilliant but emotionally anxious struggle. They're fighting a battle with weapons their prospects can't even consciously detect.
So what creates this anxiety in the first place?
It's attachment to outcome, first of all. The second, you need to sell, you create the pressure on yourself. You've got the fear uh, of rejection, so you're inviting it. It's like dating. Desperation repels, confidence attracts.
Right. Okay, so we're creating objections, but how? What does this look like in real life?
That's a great question. Let me paint a picture here. Average advisors or average salespeople walk into a meeting. They're thinking about their quota, their commission, their mortgage payment. They sit down and they immediately start pitching features and benefits because that's what they've been trained to
Right.
do.
That sounds normal.
It's completely backwards. Here's what the prospect hears: this person's trying to sell me something. And what does the brain do with salespeople?
It puts up walls.
Exactly. But it's not just what we say, it's how we show up interject inter how do you say energy interjectory? I don't know.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah, yeah. Would show up with energy. I call this the objection creation factory. And every advisor or salesperson is either running one or they're not.
So let's break that down.
So the factory has 5 production lines, okay? Line 1, you've got the agenda mismatch. You want to sell, they want to be heard. The second, they sense you care more about your agenda than theirs. Objection created. Then you got line 2, information overload, which happens a lot. You dump the features, the benefits, the statistics, the chart. Their brain shuts down because they're overwhelmed. And when the brain is overwhelmed, it defaults to no.
Yeah, over talking the sale is what we usually call that.
And then line 3, you got the pressure perception. Any hint of pushiness, urgency, or manipulation triggers their protection instinct. Even if you don't mean to pressure, if they feel pressured, objection is created. And then line 4 is the trust deficit. They don't feel understood or valued or heard. People don't buy from people they don't trust, period. No trust guarantees an objection. And then there's line 5, and that's the fear amplification. Instead of addressing their fears, you inadvertently make them bigger. You mention market volatility when they're worried about risk. Objection manufactured.
So we're literally mass producing our own resistance.
Yeah, most advisors, most of salespeople are running 24/7 objection factories and wondering why their business is so hard.
So let's give me a real example.
All right, so several years ago, I shadowed an advisor. I used to go to some of our bigger advisors and watch what they did and, give them my 2 cents worth. This guy was a nice guy. He knew his stuff. First meeting, he had a, say, 55-year-old couple. 10 minutes in, he says, I know this insurance can seem expensive.
Oh,
Most
no.
people like So he just told their subconscious that his product's too expensive. And they weren't even thinking about cost until he planted that seed. So 20 minutes later, this seems really expensive to them.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. So he created the objection. Then he spent the next hour trying to overcome the objection that he created. It's like shooting yourself in the foot and then wondering why you're limping.
So what should he have said?
Well, first, nothing about price, right?
Right.
Instead, he should have said, what's the cost of not having this protection? A whole different phrase there, right? Completely different psychological frame that creates. So one plants doubt, which is the other uncovers the necessity.
And that's a subtle but massive difference.
Yeah, the best salespeople in the world understand this. You don't overcome objections, you prevent them,
Right.
right? And the way you prevent them is by understanding the psychology of why this happens in the first place.
All right, let's get specific. When someone says no, what are they really saying to you?
This is why most salespeople or advisors get it wrong. They think objections are about logic, price, features, timing, but objections are almost always emotional decisions wrapped in logical language.
Meaning,
When someone says it's too expensive, talking about th- they're rarely talking about the actual money. They're saying I don't see enough value to justify the risk. When they say I need to think about it, they're not actually thinking, they're avoiding discomfort.
so what are the real reasons behind that?
So based on my 30 plus years of studying buyer psychology, they're really only buying 5 core reasons uh, that people say no. And so reason 1 is they don't trust you yet, right? This is the big one. People buy from people they like and they trust and believe that the person understands them. If any element of that is missing, they'll find a logical reason to say no.
And if you haven't heard about trust currency, go watch one of our previous
Yeah,
podcasts.
that's
It's
right.
all about how to build trust in
That's
your
right.
clients.
Really important.
Oh, what's the second reason?
So reason 2 be they don't see their pain clearly enough. So the salesperson doesn't see the potential customers' pain clearly enough. If someone doesn't feel significantly discomfort with their current situation, they really have no motivation to change, right? There's no pain, there's no purchase.
Right.
Reason 3, they don't believe that your solution will solve their specific problem. This is about relevance. Your solution might be amazing, but if they can't connect to their particular situation, it's irrelevant to them. And then, there's reason 4, which is they don't believe that they can afford the consequences of being wrong. This is risk aversions, okay? This is they're not afraid of spending money, they're afraid of making a mistake. And
Right.
that's really common. And then reason 5, they don't feel ready to take action. Timing isn't just it's just not right. It's isn't about external circumstances. It's about internal readiness. The psychological readiness is the key here.
So when someone says, "I want to shop around," what are they really saying?
You're saying I don't trust you enough to make the decision today. The shopping around is just a trust issue disguised as a compassion issue.
Well, this is my favorite.
Oh yeah.
I need to talk to my spouse. I get that one. How
Yeah,
many times a week?
yeah, you've heard that before. That's not only tricky, sometimes it's legitimate. They really do need to consult their partner, but often it's, I don't feel confident enough in this decision to advocate for it to someone else.
Yeah, and when it is legitimate, you haven't found the secret buyer in the
That's
room.
right. That's right. I was also on a podcast there, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a podcast about that, I believe. So it's not really about the spouse. It's about their own certainty.
Exactly. And here's what's fascinating when someone truly believes in a solution, they become your advocate with their spouse or their significant other. They sell for you. When they're uncertain, they become your opponent.
And that explains why some clients bring their spouse back excited and others seem to argue with them.
You've got it. And the difference is the spouse, it's the client's internal conviction level.
So how can you build that conviction in your client?
First, by understanding their emotional drivers, not just their logical needs. People don't buy life insurance or any product for that matter because it's mathematically sound. They buy it because they love their family for selling life insurance and they can't bear the thought of leaving them financially vulnerable.
And it's about the why behind the what.
Exactly. And most salespeople focus on the what, which is the product, the features, or the benefits. And the prospect who buys focuses on the why, their fears, hopes, and dreams.
So give me an example of how this plays out.
Okay, so got an example. I've got a 45-year-old business owner. He kept objecting to the premium on a $2 million policy, saying it's too much money every month. It's a classic price objection, right?
Right.
So I stopped talking about the policy and asked him about his kids. Turns out he's got an 8-year-old daughter, plays competitive soccer. He drives her to the tournaments every weekend, dreams of her getting a college scholarship.
And you found that emotional driver.
That's right. So I said, John, if something happened to you, would your wife be able to keep Sarah in competitive soccer, club fees, travel equipment, private coaching? So he went quiet for 30 seconds, a minute or so. Then he said, well, when do we start the policy?
The premium didn't change, but his perspective did.
Exactly. Same product, same price, different emotional context, right? He went from seeing an expense to seeing protection for his daughter's dream, which we've talked about that with talking to business owners.
Right.
Same thing, same concept.
And you'll find these emotional drivers by using this and not this.
They bingo. A little grasshopper here.
So we've talked about why people say no. Let's flip it. Why do people say yes?
This is where it gets really interesting. People think buying is a logical process, but neuroscience tells us it's the opposite. We make decisions emotionally, then justify them logically.
Yeah. So emotion drives a decision, logic supports it. People love their car.
That's right.
They don't say, what a great value I have sitting on the driveway. They're like, I love my new truck. It's so great. That's emotion coming out in vocabulary. You can hear the emotion behind their voice. Yeah. I bought this car because it was JD Power recommended as the best fuel efficient model on the market. Like nobody says that.
That's right.
That's logic.
That's right.
That's why you buy the car. So it doesn't put you in the poorhouse at the pump. But
maybe an engineer.
You'll love it because it's got a cool hood or cool wheels or something,
Yeah. Sounds good.
So emotion drives the decision, but we're saying logic supports it.
Yeah, exactly. But here's what most people miss. There's different types of buying psychology. Some people buy to gain pleasure, others buy to avoid pain.
Right.
Some buy from fear, others buy from aspiration.
And you need to match your approach to their psychology. It's not a one size fits.
That's exactly it. It's deeper than what Dr. Edward Dece's research on motivation shows. In it, it shows that there are three core psychological needs that drive all human behavior, and that's autonomy, competitiveness, and relatedness.
All right, let's break those down.
Okay, so autonomy means that they need to feel like they're choosing, not being sold. The second someone feels that they're manipulated or pressured, they resist. Competence means that they need to feel smart about their decision. If they don't understand it or they feel foolish, they were not going to buy. So relatedness also, that means that they need to feel connected to you so they can relate to you, to see themselves in your solution that you're showing them.
Yeah, you got to paint that picture for them.
Paint that picture, exactly right.
So every sale, would you say it's really about satisfying just those three needs? That's it.
It is. It's when all three of those needs are met, people don't just buy; they buy enthusiastically. And guess what? They refer others.
Well, how do you do that practically?
So let's start with the autonomy. Instead of saying you need this policy, you say, based on what you've told me, what do you think makes the most sense? So now you put the ball back in their court. You've given them ownership of the decision.
That's interesting.
So for competence, you educate without overwhelming. A lot of times, I get pitched every day and just get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Oh, this essay does this. This does this. I'm like, I don't even know what words you're saying right now. So you help them understand not just what they're buying, but why it's the smart choice for their specific situation.
The why behind the what.
That's right.
And what about relatedness? That's probably a new word for a lot of these.
Yeah, relatedness. Sometimes I just make words up and put an S on the end of it. That's about connection and relevance. You share stories of clients in similar situations. You connect your solution to their specific values and goals. So you make it personal.
That sounds like it takes longer than a typical sales process.
You know what? It does up front, but it's massive. It massively accelerates everything downstream. So when someone truly understands and feels good about their decision, they don't delay, they don't shop around. and they don't cancel later.
Yeah, you won't have a hard time getting their driver's license out of them or their social security number. That's a real hard one
That's
for
right.
a lot of
Oh,
agents to
yeah,
get
right.
out of their clients. They
They
just
keep
don't want to give
asking
it
for
up.
it. Yeah, I know.
It's because you haven't related it to them, but
That's
they
right.
don't feel they actually need
Yeah,
this,
they don't have the
and they don't
trust yet.
trust you. Yeah.
Right. You go.
So you're investing more time early to save time later.
Yeah, and what it does, it leads to making more sales. Here's a stat that'll blow your mind. Salespeople who spend 70% of their time listening and only 30% of their time talking close 40% more business than salespeople who talk 70% of the time.
And that's counterintuitive.
Yeah, because we think selling's all about talking,
Yeah.
right? But buying is about feeling understood. See, and you can't understand someone when you're not listening. You're just talking, so they feel like you don't understand who they are. What they need.
So the sale happens during the listening, not in the presenting.
Exactly. The presentation is just confirmation of what you've learned during their discovery.
Kevin, you said something earlier that I can't get out of my head. You said if you're getting consistent objections, you're not the victim, you're the creator. Can you give us a framework that advisors can use immediately?
Yeah, absolutely. I call it the objection prevention formula, and it's going to sound backwards to everything you've ever been taught.
I'm ready for it.
Okay, so here it is. It's intent plus detachment plus curiosity equals zero objections.
All right, so let's say that again for anybody still running to grab a pen.
I might have done that on a whiteboard when you first started. So intent plus detachment plus curiosity equals zero objections. This is the formula that separates the top 1% of salespeople or advisors from everyone else.
So we're gonna break that down. Let's start with intent.
Okay, so intent means you're crystal clear on why you're there to serve their best interest, not to make a sell. When your intent is pure, they're going to feel it.
Yeah, so you're kind of coming out like, hey, I'm just trying to help you.
That's right. It's all about them.
All right, what about detachment?
Attachment means that you're completely unattached to whether they buy or not. You're kind of indifferent about it. You care about their outcome, not your commission. This eliminates the desperation energy that creates the resistance. And then there's curiosity, and that means that you're genuinely interested in understanding their world. It's the kind of the empathy. You want to know about their fears, their dreams. You're not just diagnosing to sell, you're diagnosing to serve them.
And what happens when you combine all three of those?
Well, objections disappear because there's really nothing to object to now. You're not pushing, you're not pressuring, you're not even trying to convince. You're just trying to understand and help them.
Right. So this is going to sound crazy, but are you saying the best way to sell is to stop trying to sell?
Exactly what I'm saying, and it's exactly what most salespeople struggle with. They're trying to convince instead of connect, which pushes instead of pulls. So the sell is there instead of to serve, right?
Right. Yeah. So how do you make money if you're not trying to sell?
Well, you actually make more money because when people feel understood and uncoerced, they buy more and they actually buy faster. And guess what? They also refer more.
Yeah, referrals, in case you guys are looking for it, you get promised it every week. Free leads.
Yeah,
A referral is a free lead.
that's right. And the paradox of selling is that the less you try to sell, the more you sell.
That's the tweet right there, folks. Write that down.
Yeah. Kind of like the dating, right? The
Yeah.
less interested, they want you more.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
you're all about them, we're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Or that's
Don't
how I
seem
remember it.
desperate. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of how I remember it back in the day. Here's what I want everyone listening to do right now. Think about your last 3 no's. And I guarantee you that in each case you violated at least one part of this formula. You either had the wrong intent,
Mhm.
you were too attached to the outcome, or you weren't curious enough about their real situation.
And that's powerful and probably uncomfortable for a lot of people to admit.
Yeah, well, truth usually is. But here's the good news. Once you see this pattern, you can break it immediately.
Right. All right, let's get tactical. What are specific things salespeople can do, like starting right now, today?
Well, first thing, change your opening. Most salespeople start meetings by talking about themselves, their company, their products. That's exactly the wrong move.
And what should they be starting with?
Questions about them. Before we talk about anything else, this is how I would do it. Before we talk about anything else, help me understand what prompted you to take this meeting. Or if you're selling financial instruments, what changed in your financial life that made you want to explore new options?
Yeah, it gets them talking immediately. And I like that one. What prompted you to take this meeting today? You shut up. They're going to tell you exactly what they want from you and exactly how to close them. If you just
Exactly.
listen to them, and that's the first 30 seconds of your
They
conversation.
just gave you the presentation that they want to hear.
Yeah. And
Missed
with
99% of the time by
yeah,
all salespeople.
with life insurance, a lot of the folks I sold policies to, they had just had somebody close to them passed away with none. They're like, I
Yeah,
don't want my family to go through
right.
that. And you're thinking, I got a sucker. Nope. Your next question, what would that look like for your family
Right.
if you died today with no life insurance?
Right.
They're gonna go tell you their worst case scenario, their nightmare, and you're gonna have a solution that's perfect.
That's right.
But yeah, I like that. Get them talking immediately. Like, you shouldn't be the one talking in the first 5 minutes.
That's right. And here's a psychological trick. People trust people who are interested in them more than people who are interesting to them.
Right. And that's good you told me that when I first got here.
Yes. Second, normalize uncertainty, right? Most salespeople avoid acknowledging that this is a big decision, especially in the advisor world, right? If they're selling cash value life and they're asking for, $10,000 a month premium,
Right.
$50,000 a year, whatever it is. But uncertainty is natural for big decisions. So just acknowledge it up front.
Yeah. So how do you acknowledge the elephant in the room?
So most people feel uncertainty when making important financial decisions, right? Something that's going to cost them, whether it's in their own personal finance
Mhm.
or if it's a business you're selling B2B and you're trying to get them to buy capital equipment. Those
Yeah.
are huge investments. Um, s it's that uncertainty is actually a good sign. It means you're taking this seriously. Now, uncertainty isn't a reason to delay. It's validation that they're being thoughtful.
Right.
Okay.
That's brilliant.
And then third, invite honesty up front. At the end of our conversation, this is a way to say it. At the end of our conversation, if this doesn't feel like it's the right fit, just tell me. I want you to tell me. I'd rather hear an honest no than a polite maybe. Maybes are the worst thing you can get. Yes or no are
Right.
way better than a maybe.
And that's counterintuitive, but I see how that could work.
Yeah. So when people feel free to say no, they're more likely to say yes because that pressure creates the resistance. You just gave them permission, which now creates openness.
And what else?
Well, then fourth, you focus on diagnosis before the prescription. So you wouldn't want to go into a doctor to prescribe medicine before examining you, right? You walk in, hey, here's your Adderall.
Yeah, take 3 of these. The doctor will
Yeah,
see you in 5
yeah,
minutes.
right. It's the same principle. Understand the problem thoroughly before proposing any type of solution.
And how long should that take?
Really, however long it takes. I mean, because everybody has different sales cycles, right? So some things are first sell, some are 3 or 4 appointments, others are 6 months of constant going back, especially on like capital equipment type things. So it's really however long it takes. Uh, it- I've had discovery conversations that have lasted 2 hours on the financial side, and others that took 20 minutes. And even on the capital goods, when I was selling that, capital equipment, some were, this is a 6-month proposal thing. We got to get funding. And then others were like, yeah, let's do it. And just got to go in and understand
Right.
where it is, right? So the key is that they feel fully heard and understood before you transfer to solutions.
Yeah, this is why we don't recommend mentioning any products in your first meeting.
That's right.
This should be a first date. This is all discovery.
That's right.
But how do you know when they feel heard?
They're going to tell you. you're going to hear phrases like exactly, or that's exactly right, or you get it. You get me. They'll lean forward instead of back. Their body language is going to open up.
So you're reading, the emotional temperature of the room. You're not just peppering them with questions.
Right. That's, you know, the- I, you see the guys in the PowerPoint and they're just going through the PowerPoint. They're not going to,
Right.
it's just, it's too dry. And but for mid 2000s, I mean, that's all from 2010 to 2018. Everything was a PowerPoint. Oh, let me do this
Yeah.
PowerPoint. Oh, can you make us a PowerPoint?
Yeah. I've been up
Ridiculous.
there on those stages, and
Yeah.
when you're seeing more bald spots than foreheads,
Yeah.
your presentation's off.
Yeah. Right. Exactly right. The head's tilted down. So, so here's the magic. When someone feels truly understood, they become collaborative instead of defensive. They start helping you help them.
Yeah, they're gonna tell you how to sell them. They're gonna give you the keys of the kingdom. You
Right.
just got to be paying attention. So they kind of basically they become your partner in the sales process. I mean, some of the guys I've wanted to split commission with them because I couldn't talk them out of it at the end.
That's right. That's what happens when objections transform from obstacles into insights. So instead of saying this is too expensive, they say, I'm worried about the cost. Help me understand the value.
Yeah, it's the same concern, but it's a completely different energy.
Exactly. One is adversarial, the other is collaborative. And the difference is entirely about how they feel in the conversation.
Right. All right, Kevin, we're coming up to the end of this show. If someone listening to this podcast could only remember one thing, what would you want it to be?
Okay, that's a great question. The objection you fear is the objection you create. Objection you fear is the objection you create. If you take nothing else from this conversation, understand that your internal state determines their response more than your product, your price, or your presentation.
So it really is like an inside game.
It's completely an inside game, which is exactly great, which is actually great news because your internal state is the only thing you have to complete control over, right? It's you.
Right.
But like I said earlier, we put all this junk in our head and then it comes out.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're an advisor who's going into client meetings and one of the thoughts when you're walking up to that table is, man, I really need this commission. You've already lost.
Right.
You're
There
gonna
you go.
talk them out of it.
That's right.
If you can just reframe your mind to man, I really need to help these people make the right decision today. You're gonna change from being somebody that's profiting off them to somebody that they're profiting off of by
Right.
making the right
Right.
solution. And your whole demeanor, the whole scope of the conversation is gonna switch
Bingo.
around.
Yeah. You go in to sell a business owner cash value life insurance and you got this term also quoted and you're coming in going, this is too expensive, not saying it to them, but your energy is subconsciously sending, and that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And then I got to think about, well, how about this $3 million term policy? Oh, well, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's way cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You're not solving this person's problem. You didn't do what we've talked about.
Yeah. Like there's 2 parking spots. You can
It's-
park your car in this one, it costs $10. You can park your car in this one, it's $1,000. They're looking at the 2 parking spots like, I wanted the cheaper one.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, well, what if I told you there's a 99% chance your car's not gonna be in the cheaper parking spot, but there's a 100% chance it'll be in the
That's
$1,000?
right.
Well, now I want the $1,000
That's
one,
right. Right.
you know? But what about, the folks that are listening and they wanna go deeper into this stuff?
Look, what we've covered today is just the surface. The psychology of selling and buying is incredibly deep, and there are specific techniques, scripts, and frameworks that can transform your results immediately.
Are you saying people should get training on this?
I'm saying this. If you're a financial advisor or a sales professional who's tired of hearing no, tired of feeling like you're pushing uphill, tired of working twice as hard for half the results, this isn't a nice to know topic. This is a difference between struggling and thriving.
And what happens to the advisors who master this psychology?
Well, they don't just sell more, they stress less, they enjoy their work more, they build relationships that last decades. They stop being salespeople and they become trusted advisors.
Right. That sounds like a completely different career.
It is, and it's available to anyone willing to understand that selling isn't about what you say, it's about what the customer feels.
Right. And that's powerful stuff. Folks, if this episode resonated with you, share it with another advisor, an entrepreneur, or a sales professional. And if you want to dive deeper into the psychology of selling, visit planliferight.com.
And remember, every no is feedback, every objection is information, every difficult prospect is actually a mirror showing you exactly what you need to work on.
Love it. Until next time, this is Matt Floyd.
And I'm Kevin Ross. Keep planning life right. Oh, and here's one more thing. If you found yourself getting defensive while listening to this episode, if you thought that's not me or my prospects really are difficult, that's exactly the mindset that's creating your objections. Just saying.
Brutal but true.
The truth is always brutal, but it's also very liberating.